We're human beings. And, as human beings, we have a physical side to us, we have a spiritual side, we have an emotional side. And I find a tremendous help with me and for a lot of people that we have to keep all of those at their peak, And people we all know about, like Tony Robbins and others, talk a lot about this sense of peak performance, but it encompasses all of it. So it's, sometimes we look at, how did we start the day? Did we wake up at 9 o'clock, a half hour to get to a place where
Right.
Having some coffee, not eating breakfast, already feeling rushed, or did we wake up early? Did we have some time to meditate or to read something of inspiration, to have a healthy breakfast, to you can kind of think through the day, to get some exercise, even if it's a brisk walk. So it might seem like these things are tangential, but they're not. Because if we have rituals throughout the day, particularly in the morning, it gets us in the mindset for success. Hugely important. So, as we're thinking about coaching and this, we don't ever want to get too kind of focused on just, well, I got to do this, and now I'm going to stay up all hours at night. No, there's a rhythm to life, there's a rhythm to our day, and we have to structure them, but we need to keep all aspects of who we are as a person in kind of peak capacity mode. And like I said, for me, it can make a world of difference of how that day goes based off how I start it and then end it at the end of the day as well.
And that's a lot of people will say, well, I'm not as happy as I could be, or I'm not as fulfilled. If I find meaningful work, that'll be the trick. That's the solution, and it may very well be. But your life is so much more than just your work. That's obviously an important aspect of it to us. But what else? Your spiritual life, your emotional life, your financial well-being, all of those things. How are you? Various people have used the analogy of making deposits. How are you making deposits in each of those bank accounts, so that at the end of the day you are fulfilled in a number of ways? And work is just one of those ways to put together a meaningful life, but it's not the only way. And for me personally, I've had jobs in the past where it may not have been the perfect fit for me at the end of the day, but I was so much more happy in that role because I knew so many other aspects of my life were in balance. And continuing to make those deposits, because there are going to be withdrawals along the way. There are going to be days where you're just physically, you're not feeling it, or financially, it's kind of a tough month and you feel like you're paycheck to paycheck, and suddenly, that great job that you have or want to have is that vision is going to struggle, and it's going to be easy to become disconnected from your why because other areas of your life are not as in balance as they could be otherwise. So you don't want to have that tunnel vision. You don't want to be so focused on one aspect of your life that that's all you consider, to the detriment of other areas that need to remain in balance as well.
Right, and I think you kind of mentioned this, Eric, is that sometimes we're almost putting too much energy on the career as if that's going to solve all the problems. And again, I'm a big, sometimes I think usually work gets diminished. Like, it's just this thing that we do, but it's not really life. Yeah, we spend like 50 hours a week doing that. Right. So we should enjoy it, whatever this thing is called work, because we do it so often. We do so much of our hours at the end of our life is going to be in this thing called work. But it's just saying that if your marriage is falling apart, you're not being a good dad, you don't have time to be with people or just to play. I talk with entrepreneurs all the time, and it's like, what do you do to just relax? Or more so with men than women, for some reason, I say, what do you do for self-care? And they go, well, what do you mean, what's self-care? It's like, well, self-care is the things that we do to take care of ourselves. And, so again,
Stephen Covey, if I can interrupt, Stephen Covey called it sharpening the saw.
Yeah.
So are you so busy sawing away at the tree, dulling the blade, that you don't realize that if you just stopped, took a step back, sharpened your saw, went back at it, you'd experience so much more success than just going away at it.
Absolutely.
So what are you doing to fulfill yourself in ways that maybe aren't specifically related to the work or the task at hand?
Yep. And we need to put in time for that. So the schedule can't be, well, for 12 hours I'm working on my business, because you're going to burn out. And so we need those times where it's like, what are those things that recharge you? And maybe it's spending time with someone. Maybe it's going to a movie by yourself, and you just need to zone out. And that's okay. One thing too, I just kind of want to say here with you and to the people watching, is that not every day is going to be good. And when we have a bad day, give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up, because it's hard enough as it is. You're going to have some days that just aren't the best. And you're going to have days where it's just kind of put the laptop down for a few hours, get out of your head. Maybe the hamster's on the wheel spinning up there. Get out of your head and go do something different. And then come back and then kind of get back into it.
And personally, for me, it's I'll go for a run. And maybe, yes, my brain is still kind of engaged with whatever the task or the problem is at hand, but I'm not sitting in front of my computer. I've taken myself out of that sort of environment and attempted to do something else. Well, running, I know will take care of me physically. So I'm out on my run. I might still be thinking about it, but just that change of scenery and doing something for me that's good from a physical perspective recharges me and gives me a different perspective on the problem. And oftentimes I'll return from my run kind of refreshed. I'll have thought through, whatever the issue is, and have come up with perhaps a solution in the meantime that I hadn't considered, sitting at my desk so focused on whatever the issue happened to be.
Absolutely. Like you, I think exercise, running is a big thing for me as well. Sometimes ice cream, but that's not the healthiest thing, but that can give me, I tease, I'm joking. But, but in seriousness, if we don't cultivate good self-care proactively, we will find ourselves doing things that are unhealthy. And so if you're finding that when the day's done, you're kind of craving some relief, or you just want to numb out from life, and whether it's alcohol, food, or just zoning out in front of TV, those are unhealthy ways of dealing with the stresses. So, again, that's the amazing thing about work, career, entrepreneurship. It's going to touch all of our areas, and we can't just think it's just disconnected from everything else. So that's kind of the flip side. If we don't do self-care, all of us need downtime. We're gonna start to crave unhealthy ways to kind of do that, and so and that's the pitfall, because that will end up hurting us overall more than what should be kind of a filling, building type of process.
And then it will disconnect us from our why, and